Relationships are built on trust. It's a delicate dance between vulnerability and faith. But what happens when doubt creeps in? When the foundation you've carefully constructed begins to crumble? This is the story of one woman's descent into suspicion, her struggle with insecurity, and the devastating consequences of misplaced trust. Our story centers on a young woman named Sarah. Sarah had always been plagued by insecurities, a constant hum of self-doubt that she couldn't quite silence. These insecurities were only amplified by her relationship with her husband Mark and her seemingly perfect best friend Maria. Mark was everything Sarah wasn't: confident, outgoing, and effortlessly charming. And Maria, with her infectious laugh and vivacious personality, seemed to effortlessly command attention wherever she went. Together they formed a trio, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was always on the outside looking in. At first, Sarah dismissed her unease as mere insecurity. She told herself that her anxieties were unfounded, a product of her own self-doubt. But as time went on, the whispers in her head grew louder, fueled by seemingly insignificant incidents that chipped away at her composure. There was the time Maria joined their gym, despite Mark's clear discomfort with the idea. There were the lingering glances, the casual touches that seemed to linger a little too long. And then, there were the comments veiled in humor that hinted at a closeness Sarah couldn't quite place. Sarah found herself walking a tightrope of trust, desperately trying to maintain her balance as the rope swayed precariously beneath her. She wanted to believe in Mark, in the foundation of their relationship, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was starting to take root. The incident that shattered Sarah's fragile peace occurred at Maria's birthday party. The night started innocently enough, filled with laughter, music, and flowing drinks. But as the night wore on, Sarah found herself feeling increasingly isolated, her unease growing with every shared glance and knowing smile between Mark and Maria. The details of the rest of the night were hazy. Sarah, having drunk more than usual, woke up with a pounding headache and a sense of foreboding. She was alone in the guest room. As she stumbled out into the hallway, she heard muffled voices, a man's low groan, coming from the bathroom. Her heart pounded in her chest. She threw open the door to find Mark, shirtless and sweating, his face flushed. He stammered, a jumbled explanation about the bathroom being too hot, but the look in his eyes told a different story. It was a look of guilt, of panic, of something being hidden. The confrontation was inevitable, explosive, and emotionally draining. Sarah, fueled by a potent cocktail of alcohol, hurt, and betrayal, confronted Mark with her suspicions. Tears streamed down her face as she recounted the events of the night, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and despair. Mark, for his part, vehemently denied any wrongdoing. He scoffed at her accusations, his voice rising in anger as he accused her of being paranoid, of letting her insecurities get the best of her. He insisted that nothing happened, that she was misinterpreting innocent interactions, that Maria was just being friendly. But Sarah couldn't shake the image of Mark in the bathroom, the look on his face, the panic in his eyes. Her gut, that primal instinct that whispered warnings in the dead of night, told her that something was wrong, terribly wrong. Adding to Sarah's turmoil was the conflicting advice she received from friends and family. Some, blinded by their own perceptions of Mark and Maria, dismissed her concerns, assuring her that she was overreacting. They reminded her of Mark's unwavering love and loyalty, of Maria's fun-loving and affectionate nature. Others, however, urged her to trust her instincts, to pay attention to the red flags that had been waving in her face for months. They reminded her that she wasn't crazy, that her feelings were valid, and that she deserved to know the truth, however painful it might be. Section 6. The crushing weight of evidence. As the days turned into weeks, the tension between Sarah and Mark became unbearable. The air was thick with suspicion, every word, every glance, laced with unspoken accusations. Sarah found herself constantly searching for clues, for any shred of evidence that would either confirm or alleviate her suspicions, and then, she found it. A single message on Mark's phone, a message that sent chills down her spine and confirmed her worst fears. It was from Maria, thanking Mark for a great night and attaching a picture of them, arms wrapped around each other, taken after Sarah had passed out at the party. The message was a punch to the gut, a physical manifestation of her deepest fears. It was the irrefutable proof she had desperately sought, yet dreaded to find. The weight of it was crushing, suffocating, leaving her gasping for air in a world that suddenly felt cold and unfamiliar. Section 7. Picking up the pieces. The aftermath was a blur of tears, anger, and agonizing conversations. Mark, faced with undeniable proof, finally confessed. The truth when it came was like a shard of glass, sharp and piercing, leaving behind a trail of devastation. Maria, confronted with her betrayal, spun a web of lies, attempting to shift the blame to paint herself as the victim. But her words rang hollow, her facade crumbling under the weight of her deceit. In the end, Sarah made the agonizing decision to walk away from both her marriage and her friendship. The betrayal cut too deep, the wounds too raw to heal. She was left picking up the shattered pieces of her life, her heart heavy with the weight of their deceit. Section 8. The price of betrayal. Betrayal is a double-edged sword. It not only inflicts pain on the person betrayed but also reveals the true nature of those who inflict it. Sarah emerged from the wreckage of her relationship scarred but not broken. She learned that trust, once shattered, is not easily repaired. It requires time, patience, and a willingness to confront the underlying issues that led to its demise. She also learned the importance of self-worth, of recognizing and addressing the insecurities that had made her vulnerable to such pain. She realized that her worthiness of love and respect was not contingent on the actions of others, but on her own sense of self. Section 9. The long road to healing. Healing from betrayal is not a linear process. There will be days filled with anger, nights consumed by sadness, and moments when the pain feels unbearable. But with time and support, the wounds will begin to heal, leaving behind scars that tell a story of resilience, strength, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Sarah's story is a stark reminder that even the most seemingly solid foundations can crumble under the weight of deceit. It's a story about the importance of trust, the devastating consequences of betrayal, and the long, arduous journey to healing. It's a story that reminds us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit has an incredible capacity for resilience, growth, and the courage to love again.